on to it, and I'm gonna if you want me to play the harmonica, I'll have him hold it.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Joy and LaSheree, and this is the Matured Musicians Group interview with Tim Moeller. He's with us here today. Hi, Tim.
Hello.
And I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Luscious Moss Studio, owned and operated by Chad Christ in Edgewood, Washington. And he is primarily for guitarists and drummers. That's the recording and production that he set up the best for. And he creates an environment of creativity and collaboration, and I can attest to that. So moving right along, I want to introduce our guest again, Tim Moeller. I'm happy to have you here with us today. And I'm going to ask you, how did you get involved in music? Now, I know that you had two parents, I believe, were musicians. Is that correct? We usually always have two parents.
I was the sixth of eight.
Wow.
I was the sixth of eight children born to two Catholic musicians that couldn't practice the rhythm method. My father put me on the stage when I was 5 years old. I played football when I was younger, and eventually the guys got as big and as fast as I was, and I decided I'd like to live. So I took up singing in bands, and I had a little bit of success with it. You know, when I started, I was raw, but my stage presence was good. Was good, and it's that carried me. And as we got another band together, we started practicing 5 days a week. That band was called Instant Karma. It was an underground band. We one time had 600 paid admissions at $4 a head at the Fireman's Hall. It was rated at 300 people in the building. And there was a lot of damage, and the guy was pretty mad, but I had carpenters fix it up. He gave me back the damage deposit. I asked him if we could rent it again, and he told me, no, too much blood.
Too much blood, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
From there, I joined a band called the Harvard Surf Club, and then I played like 5 nights a week for a couple years.
Okay. But that's only part of the answer. What I'm trying to get at here is, when did you start? Like, what age were you? What did you play an instrument?
I was 16.
16. Oh, and that was when you were in that band that bad things happened.
Yeah, there were a bunch of ragtag bands until we actually got something organized and, a real band. Played a lot of parties. By the time I was 18, I was had my stuff pretty well together, and a very good, solid, tight band, well rehearsed. We eventually ended up on Far West, and I did a lot of shows for Far West Entertainment through the 80s and 90s.
I got a comment here, Tim, from our listeners, and says, love Dem Shades. And he is channeling Lennon. And then he has in quotes, or her, I don't know who this is. They didn't identify themselves. Too much blood, only something a rock star would say.
Well, that's what he said. I was, it was a mess. I mean, there were holes in the wall. They broke the mirror in the men's bathroom. We had to go down to Home Depot and buy a new mirror and install the mirror. Fortunately, a couple of my road crew, a couple of guys that were my road crew, were carpenters, and we'd build stages out of scaffolding for these hall parties, and I'd bring in professional sound and lighting people, and I eventually ended up with job as a lighting tech with these guys, and I did shows with Conway Twitty and Wayne Newton, Willie Nelson, Lee Greenwood, Billy Idol, Eric Burden of the Animals. My favorite story is meeting Wayne Newton. We're at the Spokane Coliseum, and I'm a lighting tech, and I'm running cables and cords before we fly the truss up to the top of the ceiling. And he comes up and stands in front of me and goes, "Hi, I'm Wayne." I look at him, I go, "I know who you are." He goes, Are you getting enough to eat? Are people treating you well?" I mean, the guy was one of the most genuine, nicest, honest, down to earth people you'd ever meet. He's
This is
Wayne
Wayne
Newton,
Newton.
damn it.
Wayne Newton, yeah.
Yeah.
He
But,
owns
you
horses
know,
too. In Nevada
the,
somewhere, he used to raise Arabian horses, correct?
yeah, he plays a ton of instruments, and he was, and you know, not that I would ever think of doing something like this, but when you think about it, when you're flying 10 tons of stuff over somebody's head, it is a good idea to be some kind of people doing that kind of work.
I gotcha. So we have another person who's tuned in to hear us, and it's Andrea Hollister. That's she's with Lynn Sorensen, and she's saying, "Hi, Joy and Tim." So that Lynn's friend is saying hello.
Well, Lynn and I have shared the stage many times at open mics. He's got a great sense of humor. He always teased me and said he always called me Matt Hasselbeck because I shaved my head. So I walk in, I'd get in there, he'd go, "Matt Hasselbeck, get up here." I've known Lynn for going on 15 years, and I met him through my late friend Bill Charrington, who worked with Paul Rogers and Bad Company. So that's how I met him through him.
All right. Well, he did say hello last night, so consider yourself greeted. so did Doug McGrew. So on this this lighting thing, I worked for Rhino Productions they're out of Tempe, Arizona, but they're here in Seattle, and I saw this. I was a roadie and a driver and a wardrobe and blah blah blah, but I understand about those. We were out at the gorge. I've never seen towers like that before, or lighting. So it's really a very big production, and you kind of make light of it, but it's not. It's a very difficult task and very heavy equipment and very dangerous if it ever falls, right?
Yeah, it never fell on us. I mean, I saw some pretty dangerous things. I saw my boss tapping power into the main grid, and he made a mistake, and it threw him 6 feet back against the wall. If he'd have made a bigger mistake, he would have died. It's what's different about I worked for him recently. He's gotten out of the lighting industry, and he's still in it, kind of. He still has lighting, but he owns a company called Northwest Video Wall, and he basically builds like jumbotron screens that people rent. He's done the Super Bowl, and he's done tons of events. You know, and he used to be the pyrotechnician for ZZ Top, Van Halen. When I've worked for him recently, the gear's gotten quite a bit lighter. I mean, stuff we were hauling around back in the 80s and 90s. Like, geez, the cord, just a 100-foot cord weighed like 250
Hey, those
pounds.
cords are still heavy.
It's very physical work.
Yeah, I rolled cords back in 2015, and I can tell you that hasn't gotten that much lighter.
No, well, these are, these cords, you have to roll them. You have to roll them like fire hoses. It's this thing called the reverse coil. And it's like most of the time I play shows, I set everything up myself because those guys I can do it faster. I used to do it for a living, and I'm very particular about my cords. I hate it. I don't like unwinding spaghetti, and it doesn't have to be that way if you do it right. There's tricks. It's just what it is.
Come on, see Lynn's setup. It takes a while.
Well, normally when Lynn's doing the big time stuff, he doesn't have to do any of that kind of stuff.
Oh, really? Yeah, true.
Yeah, those guys do all that stuff for you.
So we picked up where you were. We left off where you were. You've had a bad experience with your first band, and then you got thrown out, more or less, and then went into building stages and lighting. And where'd you go from there? What happened after that?
That band was Instant Karma, and after Instant Karma, I joined Harvard Surf Club, and we played all the major bars in Seattle.
What year was this, Tim? What year?
It would be 82 to 84.
Okay.
I was with them, and we played Astor Park. We played the Hall of Fame, the Central, Hibbel and Heights, Oh God, I can't remember all the names of those bars. They were all the A Parkers. You know, they're all the A rooms. I shared the stage with the Allies, the Heats, the Cowboys, all those. I'm still friends with all those guys.
Yeah. We have another comment here. It says, "Hey Tim, remember the Little Creek Casino, Shelton lighting? Rod here. Hi there."
Rod Stanley. Hello, Rod Stanley. He was there when I needed him. We lost our drummer, and he filled in for him and did a great job.
All right, that's quite a little. I've been at that Little Creek Casino in Shelton, and there's a guy does a tribute band to CCR called Randy Linder. I don't know if you know Randy or not, but he travels down to Vegas a lot to do the shows, and I was there for the first time to hear him, and I was impressed by that place. We had a great dinner.
It's a nice place. They treat you really well.
Yes.
They pay well. We were brought in as an '80s band, primarily because this band did do a lot of '80s material, a lot of Elvis Costello, Billy Idol, you know, that genre, that era, which, you know, back when I was in Harvard Surf Club, and we played 5 nights a week, and one of the things that we sold really well is that I could sound exactly like Billy Idol. We played a lot of Billy Idol songs.
Oh God, you're not going to believe this, but I don't know who he is. When I listen to songs, especially rock songs, and I kind of tuned out during that period of time, I was into folk and country and that kind of stuff. But
one of my favorite genres.
Name one song, yes. Name one song he did. I probably know it.
Who? Billy Idol?
Yeah.
Dancing with Myself. Oh. Rebel Yell.
Oh yes. Okay. No,
I played Rebel Yell probably 150 times in front of people.
I love that song. I just love that song. It's a great song. So I understand that the Seattle area, and this is where I'm assuming that you were doing all of this, that during the 70s, 80s, and I don't know about the 90s, but there was music every single night of the week everywhere in.
There was. It's not quite the same now.
No.
Yeah, a lot of that's karaoke. A lot of it's DJs sucking that stuff up. It's not as vibrant of a live music scene as it used to be. You know, and the other thing is most of these places used to have stages, and I mean, there's. I asked the guy's bar that I used to play at all the time. I go, well, how come you took the stage out? He goes, it's an insurance thing. It costs you. You have to carry more insurance if you have a stage.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they have
goofy stuff.
Called band bandaroke, where the bands play, but it's got the karaoke setup.
I did that in Phoenix.
Did you?
When I lived in Phoenix. Yeah.
Yeah. So where did you
go?
They
had a song list. They did a decent job of Van Morrison's Moon Dance. I'd usually do that and throw a Stone song in there. You know, it's. I have actually won a few karaoke contests for cash. So.
Yeah, really? Good for you.
Yeah.
I started out singing in karaoke. It was just a fluke. I mean, I was working on Fort Lewis and security, and I had this guy in the club at the time that I was there, and he was doing karaoke. He was from the Air Force Base. And that's how I got started in, you know, at least singing in public. I would sing, but not like that. And so, yeah, I get it. It was fun. But
I have a lot of fun with it. You know, there's you know, a lot of the arrangements are the original arrangements. You know, and you know, when you get the cheesy arrangements, I tell them, no, I'm not going to do that. If it's the original arrangement, sure. You know, I mean, that's how I learned how to sing Moon Dance. I learned it by doing karaoke, and it's a hard song to sing.
Yeah,
it's not easy.
Yeah, I get it.
Plus, I worked the harmonica part into it too, so it's kind of
that's right. You played harmonica for me. It was pretty cool. And there's not many people that do that. And I know that a lot of times the harmonica is used in country music, and I've had a few people come up and when I was jamming and play the harmonica, it was pretty cool.
Well, it's easy to get to sit in. I mean, I've sat in with bands all over the United States when I'm traveling. I'm very, very good at talking my way onto their stage, and they they believe it, and they let me get up there, and I've been doing this long enough to do a pretty decent job at it.
I hear that. Now, when you're in the Seattle area and you were singing in clubs and so forth, where did you go from there? I know you went to Utah, and you're talking about Arizona. So what's the time frame?
What I did after the Seattle club scene was I had this is back when the Rocket magazine was around, and they had a want-at section back there for people looking for musicians, and these guys were looking for a lead vocalist and a lyricist, and they were in Tri-Cities. And I'm in Seattle, and I went out and bought a Tascam 4-track cassette recording device, and they'd send me the songs through the mail. I'd go in my bathroom, and I'd sit down and I'd write the words, and then I'd pong tracks, I'd put tracks together so I could get more out of it. And then after I got the lead that I liked and the lyrics I liked, then I'd go ahead and arrange and sing all the backing vocals, and then I'd mail it back to them. They'd send me a few a week. We did about 14 in about 3 months, and then I sent them back, and they picked the 6 best they liked, and I went back to Tri-Cities in their studio, and we cut a demo of those 6 songs with complete arrangements, and I sung everything, all leads and all backing vocals, all the harmonies. And I wrote all that stuff. I wrote the melody, I wrote the words, and then I wrote and arranged all the vocals. And
now I missed something here. Tim, hold on for a minute. You would send the songs back and forth, but how did you get together to do the arrangements and do the actual recording?
Well, I went to Tri-Cities for a week, and then they'd already done all the recording. They'd already got this stuff done. I just sat behind a mic, and I laid down the lead. I laid down the lead, and then after the lead was done, I went in there and one harmony part, sung the second harmony part, and we just did that for 6 songs. And their parents wanted to finance a video. I told them if we're going to do it, we're going to use real film. We're not going to. It's going to look like a soap opera. I want nice soft focus. I want good lighting, and we're going to do this. We can do it right. And I've been working as an intern with a local filmmaker named Carl Krogstad, who died like a few years ago, and he's done he did a whole full-length documentary on stained glass in Europe, and it's like there's one family that did this for all those cathedrals. Wow. Fascinating movie, but he heard the 6 songs, and he goes, he shot out a price of $5,000 to make the video, and that included One Day in Bear Creek with Stevie Adamek, who was in the Allies, a guy that I've known for a long time, as a producer. And
that's quite the studio too. That Bear Creek studio.
That's a beautiful facility. Joe and Norma are such nice people. And, they're great people, and it's just Eric Clapton and Phil Collins were in there the week before we were in there.
Oh my gosh!
So, yeah, and it's it's just it's a beautiful facility. I was gonna, for what you've seen, I was gonna go do that there, but I was introduced to the guy at Thunderballs, Brad Wilson, who is a friend of the mandolin player, and I get a pretty good rate out of Brad. And he and I work really well together. He's the engineer and the co-producer. I'm the producer, director, and the singer. But getting back to the thing in the Tri-Cities and making of the video, we went into Bear Creek. We cut 1 song, and then we spent the next week filming. And it's like it was 8 hours a day. Carl would not let you leave the set. he would cook. He would cook. He didn't want anybody to leave because once it's expensive, and then he's not charging us a lot of money,
Yes.
So everybody stayed. He fed everybody lunch and dinner, and we did that over, and then there were location shots, and just we had a cast of little people, about 6 little people. One of these little people ended up on Total Recall and a few episodes of Seinfeld. She was just very sweet. Then after it was done, Carl had a pretty good. He had some good connections with MTV, and he got us on the Basement Tapes. And we lost in the first round. We took second. We only lost by 3 percentage points.
Oh no.
Yeah, and then we had labels looking at us, and they came out and saw us play at this Battle of the Bands in Tri-Cities, and I was on the road. I was on the road with Lee Greenwood. We were on our way from Ellensburg to Omak, and we had the off night for this Battle of the Bands happened to be one of the off nights, one of the off nights from the Lee Greenwood show, and we brought in the whole sound and lighting for that and used the same stuff Lee Greenwood was using. And because I did all the vocals and none of these guys could sing, there were no backing vocals. They were very integral, which is probably why we didn't win. I mean, we're biggest thing in Tri-Cities that happened a while. Getting on MTV was a big deal. And, we didn't even win the contest, let alone the A&R reps were there. They never gave us the time of the day after that. So that split up. I took some time off and started doing fine art, basically mixed media serigraphs, kind of Andy Warhol style. I was in the production screen printing industry for 35 years. I did a bunch of work for The Gap that involved Herb Ritz, who is a famous photographer. And the stuff that I did for The Gap wound up in the Whitney Art Museum for a display for Herb Ritz. I mean, I've won national awards in the printing industry. I was the first person to handle the Starbucks mermaid logo. I printed the prototypes.
All right. Well, that one I know.
Well, the first one had breasts, so if you can imagine if they brought that out today, what would happen? I mean, it didn't fly back. It didn't fly back in the '80s. You know damn well it wouldn't fly in the face of the. We're not going to get political or religious here, but that crowd would not approve.
No. So, we're missing a lot of data here because I read all 3 pages, and I know there's
I'm verbose.
I know there's a lot of other things we haven't touched on, like Arizona and Utah, but I would like to know what you were doing, during the whole COVID business and how that affected you. And there's going to be a documentary tonight on Kong. I'm not exactly sure what time, not a documentary, but a little project about how COVID affected Seattle singers. So if any of you are watching,
it affected me immensely. First of all, I didn't sing for a year and a half.
Oh my
gosh. I just, what I was doing is I just go out and do open mic jams, and I had that thing stuff got shut down, and I was considered an essential worker. I worked in food services. I worked for Whole Foods. I used to put out the buffet at Whole Foods at the new West Seattle location. Was in charge of that, and when COVID came around, they shut that whole thing down. The next thing I know, I'm out pulling orders for curbside delivery, which means basically I'm buying liquor for strangers. Give you a handheld. They offered me a permanent job doing that. I go, no, I came here to cook. So they had a bloated staff in the kitchen. I only got to cook a couple days of the week, and then I ended up passing out mass at the door. And I said enough of that. I went out and got a job in a food truck, but it's really a trailer, and we don't take cash. We don't It's strictly internet driven. They're a national company. They terminated me on Friday. They shut down my facility, so I'm back at looking for work. But I'll survive. I've got money.
My goodness, I know you're having a problem with the paycheck there for a while, and
God, yeah, I'm still fighting with them. I filed a complaint with Labor and Industries. Yeah. Sooner or later they will pay.
What goes around comes around.
They were a little mistaken when they thought I would just not do anything. I spent 4 years working in politics, and I've done political activism. They picked the wrong guy to mess with.
Well, I got. Speaking of politics, I got stomped on last night over in Duval. I had just released a CD, and I took it out there. It was my first one, and it's donated to a cause, and it's about the wild mustangs throughout the western states. There's about 86,000 of them, and there's 3 different groups fighting: land management, the cattle owners, and this horse animal rights group, and they're doing these roundups or whatever. But she got on my case and just beat me to a pulp, and I said, well, I better stay away from politics. I didn't even realize that was politics, but I guess it is. So I get you. So
just so everybody knows, that's non-alcoholic beer. I quit drinking a long time ago, so I still like my beer.
I don't drink. I drink occasionally. I have 4 ounces of something. My husband is not. He doesn't drink at all. And so, yeah, I'm glad for you. You feel a lot better when you.
Oh God, yes. But also during COVID is where I started making the outline and the framework for the project that I'm working on now, which will eventually be
the songs that you're recording. Is that the one that you started?
Yeah. I started picking the songs. I started rehearsing them. And then I signed up my pals, Rod Cook, Bernie Nitro, Rob Gordon, Chris Layton, Terry Dickerson, and got them all the songs. I mean, I dreamed up this whole, 90-minute concert documentary film with archives throughout 40 years in music, and I'm going to enter it in film festivals. And, I planned this whole thing out while on COVID, and just was waiting for things to loosen up to where we could get together and start doing things, and found the studio, and we went in and recorded 14 songs in 2 nights. One of them was an old Charlie Rich song, which touches on drinking. It's called Sitting and Thinking, and the chorus is, when I'm drinking, I am nobody's friend. So please, baby, wait for me until they let me out again.
Cool.
Yeah, it's the country stuff. I refer to it as Bakersfield outlaw country, and it's Bakersfield style country. A lot of Graham Parsons influence in it. I'm my own guy. I don't sing like I don't mimic anybody. I've got my own voice now. I'm a more of a stylist. I take it and do it the way I'm going to do it. But all of those songs are about drinking, drugs, and loose women that broke my heart. So it's a concept album.
Loose women that broke your heart. Now there's a line. I don't want you to go down on that project.
I can turn a phrase.
I really like a new song. You sent me a new song called Take Me Home. And I listened to that, and I really liked it. I like a lot of music, but I like that one. I thought it was pretty cool.
There's a neat story about that song. It was written 4 years ago by the engineer and co-producer, Brad Wilson, and his friend Kevin Veach. And they had a girl singing. It's not really a girl song. Brad sung it. And Brad, when he heard me sing, he goes, "Here, I want you to listen to this. I want you to sing it." So he gifted it to me, and I took and I rephrased a lot of the lyrics because I mean, it's like as a singer, you want to, you know, there's a trick to how many syllables you have to spit out, and whether you're able to, you know, how you can really sing. You know, and if you've got too many words, you need to edit that stuff down. I mean, I've been songwriting for, oh God, 35 years. You know, it's I've got a pretty good volume of original material. It's, you know, it's just a lot of it's older. But I'm getting back into writing. But they sent, Kevin and Brad sent their parts, which was lap steel and guitar, and they sent it to these guys in Nashville. Yeah. And these guys in Nashville laid down the fiddle, the mandolin, and the drums, then sent it back. And then they put vocals on it, and then they finally gave it to me. And I knocked out the lead in one night, came back and did the backing vocals the next night. We're going to add one more backing vocal part. I don't know if you know Bernie Nitro. He's the guy that plays bass in Tin Star. He's got a beautiful voice. He sings like Roy Orbison. He's gonna lay one more track on top of it. So there'll be one more vocal track on there. It is a really good song. I mean, I'm in love with it.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Oh, yeah, I hope everybody gets a chance to hear it. You have to put that to matured musicians and let us know what you're doing and that song when it comes out.
I can. The problem is I can't. The interface from Google to Facebook, it will not accept it. I've tried. Yeah, it's like I've tried. It did for a while and then it stopped, and I don't know why. We're going to film a video of it soon, because I mean that's something we need to release as quickly as possible.
And you put it on YouTube. If you put it on YouTube and you let me know, I'll put it on the site.
I'll stay in touch with you. I like you.
That lady last night.
You're a joy.
Thank you. We have another person here who said hello to us, but they didn't leave their name. I don't know what it is that they don't see this, what you have to do, but to get your name up there so that I know who's talking. So if they could identify themselves, we'd be happy to say hello back to you. But even if you don't,
I'll say hello anyway. Hello, everybody.
Hello. All right. So
I'm not shy.
So how did you run in? You ran into Doug McGrew. You ran into Doug McGrew at jams or at open mics?
Yeah, that's how I met. That's how I met McGrew. I met Sorensen years ago through Bill Charrington, but I met Doug McGrew at jams. He used to play with Tim Turner. And he's played with so many people. You know, I play with any number of various bands that he's hosting jams with. Yeah. Billy Shue.
Yeah, I know Billy.
You know, he does a lot of work with Lynn, you know, and John Memlo. I mean, those guys, Momolo, those guys are great musicians, and it's always a pleasure to get up on stage with them. I play a pretty good harmonica, you know, and I have a pretty decent voice. I can sing.
Speaking of harmonica, you were going to play today, right?
I'll play one. We're gonna get Joe. Come on. Oh, Joe's asleep. Okay, we're gonna have to do this somewhere else. Joe works at night. Oh, he's awake. Here, Joe. I want you to just hold that thing right there. Can you see me now? All right. Yeah, I gotta pick out a good key here because I'm also gonna sing here, and I gotta put glasses on so I can see. I can't read these darn things without.
Yeah, I gotta get the right one.
Yeah, that'll work. This will work.
While he's hunting for his harmonica here. A little story on harmonicas. Everyone has a key that it's tuned to. So when they play it, the reason they have so many of them is because they have to pick out that particular harmonica.
And you have to be. You're never. What the key that's on the harmonica is not what the band is playing in. You need to be a fifth above. So what you're doing is you're playing cross harp. And it's basically it's circular breathing. You are most of the notes you're playing are while you're drawing air in, and then you back down and exhale, and then you just start the cycle all over again. I'm going to sing you one verse from of an old Woody Guthrie song that was made. It's an old Steve Goodman song that was made famous by Arlo Guthrie called "City of New Orleans."
All right, hang on here.
Can you hear? All right. Riding on the city of New Orleans, Illinois Central, Monday morning rail. 15 cars and 15 restless riders, 3 conductors, 25 sacks of mail. All along the southbound Odyssey, train pulls out at Kankakee, rolling around past houses, farms, and fields, passing trains that have no names, and graveyards full of old black men, and the graveyards of rusted automobiles. Good morning, America, how are you? Say, don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm the train they call the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done.
All right, thank you.
All right, we're back.
I love that song. That is just such a neat song, and to do it a cappella, I applaud you.
Yeah, it's a challenge to hold the things down with just your voice and harmonica. But I've been doing it for a while.
Somebody else who didn't identify themselves said, "Sing it, son!" Exclamation mark.
It's a lot more fun when you have a band behind you, but sometimes I don't have a band behind me. I tried to get a couple people to show up, but they're busy.
Yeah.
I tried to bring a couple of 10 Star guys in here, and they're both, Rod Cook works all the time, and this is like his day off. Guy deserves a day off.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what? You can always come back after a while, and we can plan this a little further ahead so you can get those guys in here, or we could set a different time for it. So
we could do it out of the studio too. It's real easy.
Absolutely, sounds like fun. So we'll put that on the calendar. You be sure to remind me as time goes by when you're ready for it. And
we can come back as Tim Moeller and 10 Star. We get all those guys.
All right, perfect. That sounds like a plan. All right, so we know a little bit about, we did miss a lot of your background. I apologize for that, but there's just no way in an hour to condense all of that. And I know, people probably are not as familiar with all of the things that you've done, but they're quite remarkable that you could pack all that into your career in a lifetime. I applaud you for that as well.
I've had a lot of fun.
Obviously, you've touched a lot of people's lives, and you've been elbow to elbow with a few stars. And I wanted to know if that person, Lee Greenwood, this occurred to me after it was percolating a while. Was that the singer? Lee Greenwood?
He's I'm proud to be an American.
Yes, our band used to do that. I love that song. All right.
He was not one of my favorite people to work for, and his lighting director was not one of my favorite people to work for either. I'm being kind, trust. I'm being kind. I could say a lot more.
Well, I
worked with the Beach Boys too.
I was back. Oh yeah, you told me that. In that bio. I worked at Tacoma as a driver for a lot of these bands, and there's some bands that came in. I had to take one to Snoqualmie. I was driving a van, and I had to take them to Snoqualmie, and I went over a little bump. You know how they've got those speed bumps?
Oh,
and
yeah.
so it's an old band, and I think the shocks are gone years ago. And they turned me in. They said, she went flying over the. And I thought, so I get it. I did get it.
I had when I was a lighting tech, we did a private party for some real estate company at the Sheraton Grand Ballroom, and they hired the Beach Boys, and they paid them $150,000 for 45 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
45 minutes. They were great. I mean, it was one of the best 45-minute sets I've seen. But we had a spotlight go down on us, and Mike Love docked my boss $3,500 over spotlight. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Not a nice guy.
Wow. We had another comment here, Tim, while we're doing the. Sorry, I keep wanting to call you Tom, and so every time I call you Tim, I have to stop and think. Now, which one is it? Sorry. Anyway,
my best friend's name was Tom, and he got murdered. That's a whole nother story. And he was a very famous sound man from here who worked for.
Hang on to that story for a minute.
All right.
Tim.
Okay.
They said great idea to interview a musician in a music studio, and I really think that is a good idea. So we're just going to have to do that, you and I, when you get that song out.
Well, not only that, we have multi cameras in there. You've seen the quality of the video. So we can use all that stuff, and you'd really like working with Brad. Brad's a sweetheart.
Yeah. Well, I just love the video. I think the video is the coolest thing. That videos you make with those pictures in the background that come up on the screen. I just think that is just so innovative.
All the country stuff we turned to sepia black and white. That was my idea. Being a former art director, and I built sets on movie sets. I mean, that was my he did it in one frame. I'm going, we should do that through the whole deal. We did some other stuff. I have a set where I put on a nice suit, and I sung Moondance by Van Morrison. I sung Witchcraft by Frank Sinatra. An old Dan Hicks and the Hot Licks song called I Scare Myself. And then you saw the Steely Dan song, Only a Fool Would Say That. So, and we got.
Well, let's go back to that murder.
Okay.
I guess let's go get a little down and ugly, but that was an interesting story, and I'd like you to share it with us.
I'd be happy to.
Yeah, go ahead.
I met Tom when I was in Catholic school, and I was 6, and we were friends up until the day he died. He was the tour manager and the guy in the front of the house sound man for Heart. Was the same thing for Queensryche. He was the front of house sound man for Nirvana, Robert Plant. The Scorpions. He toured with the Scorpions for like 4 years. He had 2 platinum records that the Scorpions gave him. This whole country thing was started in his basement like 15 years ago. And then he had just built a new studio, and we were getting ready to go in and start this project. And he had done the Methau Valley Blues Festival with a band called Random Manor that has a couple of former members of the Heats in it. And he was staying with his wife in a, kind of a no country for old men fishing lodge, kind of, crappy motel. And he put the key into the room next door to his, and some methed out lunatic unloaded a Glock on him. And in Twist, the closest hospital is OMAC, and the closest ambulance is OMAC, and that's 40 minutes away. 40 minutes to get there. Then they got to go 40 minutes back to the hospital. And he died as they were loading him onto the medevac helicopter to go to Spokane because they couldn't do anything for him at the OMAC hospital. He introduced me to Robert Plant, and he goes, Bob, this is my good friend Tim. Tim, this is my good friend Bob. I looked at Robert Plant. I said, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Plant." Tommy was probably the only guy on earth that ever got away with calling Robert Plant Bob.
Oh, cool. You saw what? So tell me again what he did. I sort of missed something there. Did he sing or play or
No, he was an engineer.
Oh, engineer.
Right? And he probably at the time of his death, he probably was one of the top 10 out front house. You know, if you're in a Coliseum and you see that mixing board, like, 100 yards away from the stage, he's the guy that's standing out there in the audience. That's mixing what everybody's hearing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So we do have a comment on that. I don't know who's talking because they won't leave their name, but it said, Tom's story deserves more time, and then respect with an exclamation mark. So obviously,
it does. His life, he was an amazing guy. I mean, I played in bands with him. I produced for myself the first time with him as a co-producer and as an engineer. We did a lot of recording together, a lot of playing together. Obviously, having known him since he was 6, so I could extrapolate more. He's got an incredible career and was one of the. He was my best friend.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I am sorry for your loss. That's very tragic. Yeah. But the reality is, when you're moving around the country and you're on tour and whatever, there's always dangers there. Obviously, I just ran into one last night, and the danger was probably me because she really made me angry. But it was her tone of voice. But anyway, and so when you're out there and you're doing these things, there's a dark side. There is a dark side in some of those cases, and some good person.
I've played over 1,000 shows. I've seen some pretty crazy things. The irony about Tom is the guy was on the road like probably 9 months of the year worldwide, and he'd probably stuck the wrong key in a hotel room over 100 times. It wasn't. It was those key cards. And they won't open. I mean, this was like one of those with a physical key, and it's like it obviously wasn't that much different from the room next door, and it opened the door, and that's it's wrong place, wrong time, doing the wrong thing, and lucky that his wife who was with him didn't get shot too.
Yeah, exactly. So we do have a request. I mean, I want to get on to some of your new stuff. We only have about 12 minutes left, but we did have a request from a viewer for another song, and it says another song, Blow That Harp, Son. I don't know who's calling you.
All right,
son.
I'll play. I got something else. I just got to find the right key. You give me a second. I'm gonna have Joe hang. Joe.
And
we'll do. He works late. He works till 2 or 3 in the morning. Give me a second here. I can fix it. I can figure this out.
I'm going to put you on your own screen, so you won't see or hear me, but I am putting you on your own screen.
Fine. Okay. I got to figure out a way to prop this darn thing up here. It'll only take me a second here. I'll figure this out eventually. We'll prop it up with my Wu-Tang Clan t-shirt. Okay, can you still see me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, now I got to find the right key here.
All right.
That's one of these damn things I got to put on dorky glasses.
What was the name of that rock song you did? That was on the
YouTube?
Yeah. What's that name?
That's called Taxi. I wrote that with Instant Karma. Give me 1 second.
Have you ever gone out to interview, YouTube out there, and just look up for Taxi and Tim Moeller? He's got a whole different look. He's got a rocker look on that one.
I'm a chameleon. All right. I'm going to play an old Bruce Springsteen song here.
All right.
And I'm actually going to play the whole thing. This is actually something I've actually worked on And can you see me okay?
I can,
Can you
indeed.
see me all right?
Yeah, we see you
Okay.
fine. All right,
Okay,
so
here
I'm
we
going to
go.
remove myself.
The screen door slams, Mary's dress waves. Like a vision, she dances across the porch as the radio plays. Roy Orbison singing for the lonely. Hey, that's me, and I want you only. Oh, turn me home again. I just can't face myself alone again. You don't run back inside, darling, you know just what I'm here for. Oh, you're scared and you're thinking that maybe we ain't that young anymore. Show a little faith, there's magic in the night. Ain't a beautiful hair, alright. Oh, and that's alright with me. You can hide neath your covers and toner pain. Run crosses from your lovers, throw roses in the rain. Waste your summer praying in vain for a savior to rise from these streets. Well, I'm no hero that's understood. All the redemption I can offer good is beneath this dirty hood. With the chance to make it good somehow. Hey, what else can we do now except roll down the window and let the wind blow back your hair? Well, the night's busting open, these two lanes will take us anywhere. We got one last chance to make it real. We're trading these wings on some wheels. Climb back, heaven's waiting down on the track. Oh, come take my hand, riding out tonight to case the promised land. Oh, Thunder Road, oh, Thunder Road, oh, Thunder Road. Lying out there like a killer in the sun. Hey, I know it's late, we can make it if we run. Oh, Thunder Road, sit tight, take hold, Thunder Road. Well, I got this guitar and I learned how to make it talk. And my car's out, Betty, if you're ready to take that long walk. From the front porch to my front seat, the door's open, but the ride ain't free. Well, I know you've been waiting for words that I ain't spoke. Tonight we'll be free, all promise to be broke. I'm in the ghost of the eyes of all the boys you sent away. They haunt this dusty beach road in the skeleton frames of burned out Chevrolet. They scream your name at night in the streets, with graduation gown eyes and rags at their feet. And in the lonely cool before dawn, you hear their engines roaring on. And you get to the porch, they're gone on the wind. So Mary, climb in. It's a town full of losers. I'm pulling out of here to win.
All right. Thank you, Tim.
You're very welcome.
We have another person who has identified. Oop, I lost you. Tim, come back. Well, one of the comments that we have on here, I'd hope to be able to tell Tim, but I'm hoping he's going to come back and join us here. Somehow he probably knocked his phone over and it took him offline. So anyway, that was Tim Moeller. He's back. Thank goodness. There you are.
Internet.
Yeah, you gotta love it, don't you? So that was so good, it just knocked you off the internet.
Well, good. I must be doing something right.
Absolutely. So anyway, we have another comment that the guy didn't identify, or girl didn't identify themselves. And it says, Tim's a talent, like most folks with raw talent. He's not polished. I disagree. He said he's a Des Moines kid with more heart than one man deserved. And that was the end of his comment. But speaking of polish, there's a big difference. If you're at a jam, your jam is not going to be polished. If you're doing a cappella, it's not going to sound like it does in a studio. But if you listen to Tim in a studio, you let me know whether you think that's polished or not, because I think it is.
Yeah, it's a little different. I mean, I think one of the hardest things anybody can ever do is to sing a song and pick up a harmonica player and accompany themselves with a harmonica and sing at the same time. For anybody that thinks it's not polished, my advice to them is try it and see how polished you'll be.
There's a guy named Doug Cooper that I've had here on interview, and Doug he's usually a one-man act. And he does have this little thing that he puts on, and it holds his harmonica, so he can both sing and play the harmonica. And I get it. It looks hard. I would have no clue.
Well, it's not, I'm a lot better with a band, and it's, I'm a very dynamic performer on stage. I have limitless energy. I'm like Mick Jagger or Iggy Pop is how I move. I'm a maniac.
I believe it. And you've been with a lot of good people. So I am sure that your skills have been honed through the years. And I'm glad that we had you here on Matured Musicians. Do look at Matured Musician fans. Do look, please, on YouTube and catch the videos that Tim has on there. It's called Tim Moeller and Tin Star band, and he's recording in the studio on film. Very interesting videography on it, or cinematography on it.
It's spelled Moeller.
Exactly. And he also has a new song called Take Me Home coming out, and I do believe that song is a special song. So hopefully you'll share it with us, and I'll be able to put it on our site for you. In the meantime, be happy to. If you can ever figure a way to put stuff on, if you can't put it on, obviously something's coming through, because I have comments and I have pictures.
I have no problem putting the videos on. It's just the audio to that to Take Me Home is on my email, and it doesn't. I mean, YouTube to your site is easy. So I mean, what we need to do is we need to transfer the song to YouTube, and unfortunately, Brad, my engineer partner in crime, the guy that owns the studio, he came in contact with COVID over Friday, so he's quarantining. Otherwise, we would have recorded this today from the studio. We would have been in there, and I would have been sitting behind the console. Would have looked a lot cooler than my one-room studio apartment in the heart of the ghetto on 4th and Jackson in downtown Seattle.
I hear you, Tim. So I am so glad you did join us. I'm so glad you came. We had another comment here, somebody who is not identifying themselves, but says, thanks for the great interview, Joy, and Tim enjoyed it. So obviously you touched the hearts of somebody out there, and we thank all the listeners for tuning in today and meeting.
Well, I had fun, Joy.
All right, Tim. Well, you take care, and I hope things get better for you, and you don't feel like you were on when you weren't going to get a paycheck. So,
well, I still haven't got that paycheck, and money's pretty tight, and it's like, it shouldn't be. I earned the money. I deserve to be paid.
Exactly. And with that in mind, I do want to tell our listeners out there that musicians like Tim, myself, and others that we've had here, they make their money through the things that they put on their websites or their CDs that they sell. And, you know, it is a tough world out there for musicians right now. So if you can spare anything, just keep that in mind and we'll love you for it. Thank you. All right. Have a good day, everybody. I'm going to remove you, Tim, but you
All
have
right. Thank you, Joy. It was a lot of fun.
all right. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And stay tuned for next Friday. We've got a videographer coming on. He's not a musician, but he does a lot of work for musicians, and I think you'll find it interesting. Take care, and thanks again. Bye.